Rainbow Family Life Stories by Jodey Bateman. Interviews with Rainbow Family of Living Light folks conducted between 1977 and 2008. Scanned in 2018. Jodey Bateman may be contacted on Facebook. 04. Intro.Origins. The Origins by Jodey. This first section of life stories is from people who were part of Rainbow before the first gathering. One thing that is most striking about many of those who were in the early days of Rainbow, and many who have become involved in Rainbow later, is their social origin. According to many social scientists, the hippie movement was mostly upper-middle-class youth. Yet Barry, who was a well-known part of the Haight-Ashbury scene, and Chuck Windsong and Michael Bearcore people of the group that became Rainbow, are all of working-class background. Sonny, a leading figure in putting together the health care for the gatherings and parent of 2 children with Barry, is also of working-class background. So is Bo of the hog farm, who did some unpublicized work in helping find a spot for the first gathering. On the other hand, Garrick was from well-to-do, though avant-garde parents who founded the Living Theater in 1948. The Living Theater gave beat writers a place to have their works performed and a social center. Thus it was one of the major roots of the counterculture. The temple tribe of craftspeople that Garrick was in at the time he met Barry seemed to have been like Garrick, mostly dropouts from college, finding the college fringe life more exciting, and as Garrick would say, more just and more relevant than the college. Joan Vision, who did work on the first gathering, was in the Love family. Like most Love family members, she is from the upper-middle-class background that social scientists think was usual for the early hippies. Phil Coyote, who inspired her to get involved with Rainbow, is from a once wealthy family who were ruined in the Depression. He was a classic late 60s, early 70s runaway who became involved with the STP family, who are almost all from working-class backgrounds. The reason for this discussion of social class is to show the changes that had occurred in American society by the 60s that made the counterculture possible. Although Barry was raised in poverty, he had, like millions in poverty in the 50s and 60s, an access to education that no previous generation of his family had. Barry's cousin, Chuck Windsong, although he got only as far as the 8th grade, had an access to metaphysical books and teachers that was rare for people like him before World War II. It was also rare for working-class people, especially women, to go to college like Sonny. And the college leftist scene she was in hardly existed until the 60s. Only one person in this section, Michael Bear, is from a traditional left-wing working-class background. Up till the 60s, people like Garrick's parents could reach only a relatively small audience with their avant-garde theater and their radical pacifism. Now, because of the changes that created the counterculture as a major audience, great numbers of people have seen the theatrical concepts and political concepts of Garrick's parents as carried out by others like the San Francisco Mime Troupe. Without the huge rise of working-class living standards and educational levels, people like Barry and Sonny and Chuck and Michael Bear would have probably never gotten to know people like Garrick. Sonny and Jean Vision would probably never have become friends, and Phil Coyote would have not been acquainted with affluent youth like Jean and the other Love family people. The blend that made Rainbow, the union of Barry's Marble Mount Outlaws and Garrick's Temple Tribe, would not have been possible without the move towards equality that came with the 50s and 60s boom and brought many people of all social levels together. Another striking feature, how many Rainbow people belonged to smaller families like the Marble Mount Outlaws and the Temple Tribe before finding Rainbow. There are many examples in this book.